Hello, friends, and welcome to Adventures in Pixie Land. My name's Amy. I'm an ordained minister, and we are in Bible study. We are in the NIV, and we will be till the end of 2025. We are in Leviticus chapter 23, and we're doing the whole chapter, which goes to verse 44. It's kind of long, so let's just get right in it. Remember, this is part of the Mosaic Law. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say this to them. These are my appointed feasts, the appointed feasts of the Lord, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies. The Sabbath. There are 6 days when you may work, but on the seventh day is the Sabbath of rest, a day of sacred assembly. You are not to do any work wherever you live, as it is the Sabbath to the Lord." Okay? The Passover and the unleavened bread. These are the Lord's appointed feasts, the sacred assemblies you are to proclaim at their appointed times. The Lord's Passover begins at twilight on the 14th day of the first month. On the 15th day, now, remember, their New Year's Day, it's not the same as it is for, North America for certain, okay? Their New Year's starts on Passover, which for us is like the week before Easter. On the 15th day of that month, the Lord's Feast of Unleavened Bread begins. For 7 days, you must eat bread made without yeast. On the first day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. For 7 days, present an offering made to the Lord by fire, and on the seventh day, hold a sacred assembly and do no regular work. First fruits. The Lord said to Moses, "Speak to the Israelites and say to them, when you enter the land I am going to give you, and you reap its harvest, bring to the priests a sheaf of the first grain you harvest. He is to wave the sheaf before the Lord, so it will be accepted on your behalf. The priest is to wave it on the day after the Sabbath. On the day you wave the sheaf, you must sacrifice as a burnt offering to the Lord a lamb a year old without defect, together with its grain offering of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour," which is probably about 4 quarts or 4.5 liters, the ephah of flour. Ephah, I'm saying that better, okay. Mixed with oil, an offering made to the Lord by fire, a pleasing aroma, and its drink offering of 1/4 of a hin, D, that is about 1 quart or 1 liter, of wine. You must not eat any bread or roasted or new grain until the very day you bring this offering to your God. This is a lasting ordinance for the generations to come wherever you live. So you can't eat anything of what you've harvested until you get this over there. So harvest some for the Lord first, get over there, harvest, give it, and then harvest some more so you guys can eat that night. Feast of Weeks. From the day after the Sabbath, the day you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, count off 7 full weeks. Count 50 days up to the day after the 7th Sabbath, and then present an offering of new grain to the Lord. Wherever you live, bring 2 loaves made of 2/10 of an ephah of fine flour, baked with yeast, as a wave offering of the first fruits to the Lord. Present with this bread 7 male lambs, each a year old without defect, 1 young bull, and 2 rams. They will be a burnt offering to the Lord, together with their grain offering and the drink offering, an offering made by fire, an aroma pleasing to the Lord. Then sacrifice 1 male goat for a sin offering and 2 lambs, each a year old, for a fellowship offering. And you get E, which is going to be traditionally a peace offering. The priest is to wave the 2 lambs before the Lord as a wave offering together with the bread of the first fruits. They are a sacred offering to the Lord for the priest. On that same day, you are to proclaim a sacred assembly and do no regular work. This is to be a lasting ordinance for generations to come wherever you live. When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Leave them for the poor and the alien. I am the Lord your God. We're supposed to be kind to aliens in our land, according to Mosaic law. Feasts of the trumpets. Jesus says we're supposed to be kind to people all the time, but according to Mosaic law, we're supposed to be kind to aliens, because once we were aliens in the land ourselves. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, on the first day of the 7th month, you are to have a day of rest, a sacred assembly commemorated with trumpet blasts. Do no regular work, but present an offering made to the Lord by fire. Day of Atonement. The Lord said to Moses, the 10th day of the 7th month is the Day of Atonement. Hold a sacred assembly and deny yourselves, that is to fast. And present an offering made by the Lord to the Lord made by fire. Do not do work on that day, because it is a day of atonement, when atonement is made for you before the Lord your God. Anyone who does not deny himself on that day must be cut off from his people. I will destroy from among you, his people, anyone who does any work on that day. You shall do no work at all. This is a lasting ordinance for generations to come wherever you live. It is a Sabbath of rest for you, and you must deny yourselves from the evening of the 9th day of the month until the following evening. You are to observe your Sabbath. So from sundown on one day until you are at sundown on the next day. Now, there is a way this works out. You just eat a whole lot. You have a feast right before, and then you fast. And then, by the time the sun is going down, it's like 5, 6 o'clock at night. So it's really like, don't eat for 12 hours, if you will. It seems like it's much longer, but it didn't feel like it to me because I was so overfull, I guess. Feast, I started feeling it at about hour 12, is what I'm saying. Feast of the Tabernacles.
Tomorrow in Tucson.
All right. Feast of the Tabernacles. The Lord said to Moses, say to the Israelites, on the 15th day of the 7th month, the Lord's Feast of the Tabernacles begins, and it lasts for 7 days. The first day is a sacred assembly. Do no regular work. For 7 days present offerings made to the Lord by fire, and on the 8th day hold a sacred assembly and present an offering made to the Lord by fire. It is a closing assembly. Do no regular work. These are the Lord's appointed feasts, which you are to proclaim as sacred assemblies for bringing offerings made to the Lord by fire. The burnt offerings and the grain offerings, sacrifices and drink offerings required for each day. These offerings are in addition to those for the Lord's Sabbath, and these feasts are in addition to the Lord's Sabbath, and these offerings are in addition to your gifts and whatever you have vowed, and all freewill offerings you give to the Lord. So beginning with the 15th day of the 7th month, after you have gathered the crops of the land, celebrate the festival of the Lord for 7 days. And the first day is a day of rest, and on the 8th day is also a day of rest. On the first day, you are to take choice fruits from the trees and palm fronds, leafy branches and poplars, and rejoice before the Lord your God for 7 days. Celebrate this as a festival to the Lord for 7 days. So 7 days of, feasting on these yummy things. This is to be a lasting ordinance for generations to come. Celebrate it in the 7th month. Live in booths for 7 days. All native-born Israelites are to live in booths, so your descendants will know that I had the Israelites live in booths when I brought them out of Egypt. I am the Lord your God. So Moses announced to the Israelites these appointed feasts. So yeah, they do literally mean live outside in a earthen shelter. Kind of sort of what we would think of as the manger that Jesus was born in. Just sort of like that. Is that an interesting thought?